I want to thank you all for being with me in this silence, because it's by far the most difficult silence I've ever intentionally shared with so many people. And it's because our culture is one that cannot sit in difficult silence. And I hesitate to say above all, so I'm not going to say that. But I do believe that's something that we need. We need to support contexts for gathering where silence is welcome. Not only that silence which is just right, which has been toned by some high art of beauty, which is so important for nourishment and healing. And something I feel profoundly committed to helping to create. But there's this other silence. There's the kind of silence that one experiences when an event takes place. That is this other side of awe, where awe is that too much, you know? And that can be wonder, and it can be terror. There was a question before, why is the connection that some of us experience here in this context, why does it feel lacking in culture? In part, because we're unwilling to be in silence with the power we have and the nature of what it is that we as organisms participating in organism are doing. It's all a bit too easy to ask questions and hear someone profess answers. Care about this thing, care about that thing, this sustainability here, that sustainability there. All important, hey? All important. But to be with the silence of really not knowing and staying and holding, that's asking something of each of us. It's not possible for that kind of silence to remain without the intentional process, and in that sense the service and the dedication of spirit that each of us carry. What does that make? How does that contribute to the integrity of this field? What then becomes possible in this field that can then shape cultural activity, right? Is it more responsive then, if we've had time to dwell in it together? That's what we need, right? Responsivity rather than reactivity. You hear people say that. It makes sense to me. I think sometimes psychedelic philosophy is a difficult silence. Of course, a silence filled with a cacophony of noise. It's a difficult silence because we're not sure what sense to make of it. There's too much difference. It's no easy process. In part, that's the esoteric. Yeah. Where difference is that no words can go. Is that where we want to go? Some of us, sometimes, maybe. We're all here in this life-death process. In some sense, we're all going there. What seems to be here with me, though, that's coming through in his commitment to be with what is, it's just a presence a little bit of that. I suppose it's a little bit of shadow. I think it's shadow work. What is collective shadow work? Funny thing to even relate to, hey? Because if we're looking at the thing, is it the shadow then? Because the shadow, well, I suppose it's right there, right now. But we generally mean that thing we cannot see. So we can think of the darkness. And for sure, these spaces change when it gets dark. The power dynamics can shift. Energy levels change. Magic happens. Creation happens too, of course it does. But it seems to me that esoteric must relate with shadow. In a manner of like a critical consciousness, but where it's liminal, it's almost not there, it's not quite formed yet. When I think about many of the leaders in the world today, of our political system, our military system, our economic system, business, futurism, the business of futurism, influencers. How much time do they spend in a tension of silence, where all that shininess, all the bestowed energy of our contextual projection on them as powerful, as influencers, where all of a sudden now they are just human, all too human. Not so polished. Isn't that what we need? Though we need leaders who are willing to step into a context and not know. I'm speaking most of all about the esoteric context for that to take place. Because of course, something like this, something like what I'm sort of sharing now, in many places this would be almost so absurd that it probably attention wouldn't even stay on it. You know? It wouldn't even stay on it. It would be too offbeat, too off frequency for what's expected. But as we relate to the power we have as a culture, the wars that are taking place, the technological changes upon us, how identity is shifting in relation. We think about all the momentum of that. Momentum like a train, hey. Straight to a cliff. How to relate with that? Maybe it is some sort of silence. And yet it has to be a visible silence, a palpable silence. So that the silence can speak and we can be responsive to that.